It means that the question 1B, right? If in their manual, in the ATAX manual, it is chapter 2, it means when I pick it and I'm studying, all these bullet points from which they can set the question, or they can set questions from for chapter question 1B, they are found in chapter 2 of their ATAX manual. So here, some of us, for me, since I've been writing ICA, I've been buying their manuals because of the format. But when I visit the format, I'll find a specific description on this. Identify and describe various sources of income tax base. So I'll find a topic on this. Sources of income tax. I'll find this. So if I should read this in their manual, and in the event they see the question from this side, the first bullet point, I'll know what to say about the source of income tax base. So sometimes they'll say ICA doesn't give, let's say, tutorial questions, they don't give some trial questions. Their trial questions are these formats, they are in the format. So now, so for those of us who do not have the manual, we can use the S&D notes. So wherever, if I'm reading on B, computer, just for an advice on the tax liabilities, individual taxpayers, partners in partnership, individual income. So yeah, it's talking about sole proprietorship, which is the individual, partnership, how to compute partnership, how to also deal with companies, right? How to also deal with companies and groups of companies. If there is a, let's say, consolidated companies, and I have to find their tax liability on them. So all these, that's here. But then within this B, we have identify and describe their, theories in addition. So if I should pick the S&D notes on sole proprietorship, partnership, companies, groups of companies, I'll be searching out for these specific things. What are the sources of income tax base? I have to search for it. If it's not in the note, I have to use chat or AI to get the answer. In Ghana, identify incomes, amount, and persons exempt from tax. So exemptions. Which people, which incomes, which amounts, which persons are exempt from taxes. So when I'm studying the sole proprietorship, partnership, and companies, these are the theories I have to read on because they can ask questions on these very specific areas. As far as I've known, they never will set the questions which are outside the bullet points they give or in the format. So all the questions are coming from the format, but as to how they will ask the question, no one knows. As to how they will ask the question, no one knows. Sometimes they can pick it directly from the format and post it as it is, like copy and paste. Identify how incomes, amounts, and persons are exempt from. They can just ask it the same way, and they give the marks. So these are the guides to how we can approach the question. Then the third one is explain allowable deductions using general rules, residual rules. So if I'm studying and I have my S&D notes and I'm reading about the deductions, I'll make sure I know what to write under general rules, residual rules, deduction rules. And don't forget, each question has 20 marks. So question 1 is 20, question 2, 20, question 3, up to question 5, all 20, totaling 100. So for the question 1A, their question will be 5 marks. The 5 marks is coming from this side. So if I have the S&D notes, my main focus will be, I'll go and read on this. Though it's only 5 marks, I'll go and read on that portion. Because 5 marks is coming from there. Identify and explain the obedience of taxpayers and or their agents and the implications of non-compliance. So I have to go and search for it and read it. They will set a question from there, which is about 5 marks. Then the B will take 15 marks. Because if this is 5, the B takes 15, making up 20. And the 15 marks, they can ask a question from any of these bullet points. And among those bullet points are theories and computations, right? So you could see the first bullet point is theory. They can ask a question. The second bullet point, theory. The third is theory. Identify the rules on capital allowance and compute capital allowance. So here is theory. Identify the rules is theory. Then capital allowance computation. So they can set a question fully on capital allowance. Then explain and compute tax liability. So this is the first part. Then this is the second part of the two. So explain and compute tax liabilities and individual companies and groups of companies. Pay attention to the following. The scope of income tax. So this is theory. Total taxable total profit. This is computation. The comprehensive computation of taxable income and income liabilities, including capital allowances. This is computation. The effect of a group corporate structure for corporate tax purpose. This can be computation or theory. The use of exemptions and reliefs in determining, deferring, and minimizing income tax liabilities. Yeah, this can be computation or theories. Taxation of insurance companies, trusts, charitable organizations, property and investment income. So if now that we are 1 month to exams, what we ought to do is to study the format. For me, that is what I have done most of the time. If I should have time to attend a lecture, I attend it or the recorded session. But 1 month to exams, I deal with only format. So I go by the format. Then by the end of the format, let's say by a week or two, I should finish all, and then I will know my strengths and weaknesses. That probably question two. When it comes to question two, which has about 20 marks, I am not so sure I can do because that one is a lot, right? But for question five, but for question five, for question three, question two, that's those areas I'm so much certain that I can get at least some good marks from there. So let me try. Let's do a guess. This is 15 marks. This is a whole lot of questions. The B, whole lot of questions. So I'll be after studying them. The theories for the theories, I may not have so much issues with them because those ones, since I have the manual, I visit the manual, search for the information, and then I'll read them, right? But let's say the computation. Here we have insurance companies. I mean, I have to go and master the format. I'm going to learn the format very well and solve the same examples he has solved with us. We are not to get the final answer correct. That's why they mark the steps and the text. We go for text, currency, format, what you introduce, what you don't introduce. We have to do all those, right? So the taxation of insurance companies. Here, I have to go and learn the format. Capital allowance, I have to go and solve more questions. All that he has solved with us, I have to go and solve them again. Even by solving the questions he has solved with us, they are adequate. If you want to do more, then we go and add some past questions to them, right? Because the whole thing is there is no time. Hey, the whole thing is there is no time. So the whole truth is that there is no time. We don't have all the time to sit on one question. So even if you have to go by the format and it doesn't balance anywhere, we are not in for balancing. But the steps and how best we are able to do, we get the text and we move on. All right. So since I know that here, question 1B, they can set the question full on taxation of insurance companies. That's finding the tax payable on insurance companies, trusts, charitable organizations, and capital allowance. I'm going to master the format very well and then create shortcuts to memorize the format, right? Like the insurance companies, mostly which is the non-life insurance company. The life insurance too, he solved a similar example with us. You have to start from the other income and work downwards. So all that I have to do is to go and master format and solve the questions. And mostly I print the format. I print the format. So whenever the lecturer teaches, I know where he's solved, where he's not solving. So for example, I have my copy here, which I've printed. And if assuming or supposing I finish with taxation of insurance companies, I'll just mark it on my format. This one I'm done. Then if I've created an acronym for the format, I'll write against it. Let's say go for my nephew. Nice. Maybe this is the acronym I'm going to follow to. If it should come, if the question should come from trust from insurance companies, you create the acronym for the format so that immediately and memorize the acronym. Immediately it comes, that question features, you write the acronym, then you move on. So by this, what we are looking at here, these are the areas the question 1B will come from. The questions will come from one of these or two. There are 15. So they can say, out of the 15, they can say question 1 BI. So BI, let's say 4 marks. BII, let's say 5 marks, making 9. We are left with 6 more. BIII, 3. BIV, this is 8, this is 12, this is 3, right? So in total, all this gives me 15 for the question 1B. Then added to the 1A, that will make up the 20 marks for only question 1. So as we are studying in 1 month to the exam, we should concentrate on the format more because if you go and read all the slides, all the notes, there will be so many, which they are. But then if you have the format, we study the notes strategically because we know definitely question 1B, the questions will come from these number of bullet points which are written here. They will never pick them from anywhere. They will come from here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 16 bullet points for the B. Definitely the 15 marks, about 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 will come from these 16 bullet points. So when we are reading our notes, when we are reading the notes, we have to read the notes in accordance with what is here so that we'll be grounded. So for me, let's say if I should go through everything, one thing I can say is that, okay, I may not get the 15 marks if the question should come from me. I'm estimating 12 marks from here. So I'll make my estimates. Or roughly, I'm getting like 10 marks from here. You learn in the worst case scenario, I'm getting 10 marks from the 15 here. And here, which is theories, the 5 marks at the top, you let me estimate 2 marks for myself. So I know that question one, at least I'm getting 12 marks from question one out of 20. Because let's say my issue a lot, I have a grave issue with respect to trust companies. And I'm not so sure about, because trust is a lot. I'm like, you assume they don't bring trust, or if they should present trust in the exams, these are my chances, right? So that is how we have to go with the approach when it's like about a month to the exam. You only have to deal with format. And like I wrote in the group, the questions he has solved. For example, this is capital allowance. All that I have to do, I'll have to go to what I'll be solving. That I'll read a question. Mostly, it is best we read the requirement first. Why is that necessary? If we are able to read the requirements, for example, the whole question 5 or question 1B, I'll quickly go and read the requirement. If the requirement tells me it's capital allowance, I should know what I'm expecting when I go to the case study. I'm searching for the costs. I'm searching for the pool, all the pools, 4, pool 4, pool 3, pool 2, pool 1. Those are my expectations. So before I even venture the whole case study, having known that question 1B is going to request for capital allowance, I'll write the on them, the rate of depreciation on them, whatever I have to write. I'm just searching for information to come and fill in my pools. I guess that's one of the key or core reasons or similar reasons of reading requirements first. Because when you read a requirement, the case study or the case study will be very long, but what sort of what the main passage is about or the case study is about. So if you have any techniques or strategies to do, because you are working with time, you really have to write them down. Then we move on. Are we okay? Are we okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Any question, any clarification, any concern?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Yes, please. Good evening.
Okay. So what do you want to say? Yes,
Yeah, what
sir.
I want to say that you see, last last diet, the November diet, most of the questions that came were like, I don't know whether it's a trend. They want to go more theory than the calculations. It's more of the principles,
Yeah.
application of the principles, okay, the task principles than the calculation. I don't know whether this diet they are going to go the same way or they will revert to more calculations.
Oh, okay. So
Hmm.
for me, all that, like, uh, uh, I understand what you're saying. Go by the format. Are we getting it? So though they will bring the theories, and the theories are really more. So the theories are more because they know that students may get the tax laws, and it is easier to even do computation than go and write, because computation, if you write the currency sign, you get a tick. But for the theory, you have to state maybe in accordance with the Income Tax Act or the VAT Act, whatever, be a challenge. So um, it is okay. However, whatever this act, if I should bring last question, last that question here, and we go through one after the other, you realize that all those questions, question 1B, they were, because if you pick the notes and read, there are so many. If you have the formats like this and you study the notes according to the format, you know that question 1B, these are the areas which will fall. And it has always been the case. For me, as I said, whenever it's a month to exams, I deal with formats. So I've even started reading the theories on the format. And those I've read, I'll check them. Some they require acronyms. So I'll write acronyms, maybe some definition. If it's a format like a copy of the format, I'll write the format of maybe whether I'm on my way to work, I can just pick or at work, I can just look at the format, create the acronym. I've known from what Steve taught, I have known where to post what. That one, they are there. But the format from here, where do you go? From here, where do you go? That one I have to master. And it's part of the question 1B. So whether or not there will be more calculations or theories, if we go by the format, we'll be able to estimate that at least out of the 15 for question 1B, we can get 10 or 9, right? And question 5, I can get 2. So 9 plus 2 give me 11. So I know that question 1, 20. Sometimes after I finish writing the exams and I look at my mistake, what I can't, what I did, I'll be like, okay, the whole work is 100%. I'm giving myself 40% wrong. For 60%, I should fall within 60%. Because maybe I know how I answer the question, whatever, and the whole work is 100%. But after everything, I was like, okay, 40% wrong. I should have 40% marked wrong. But for the 60%, I'm falling between 50 and 60. I should be able to make it within. Why? Mostly because I have read the format, studied the format, read acronyms, whatever. I've done everything, solved questions. So I know that when question 1 came, I've already estimated myself 15. It's 15 marks. I estimate myself to be 10 or 9. Very good. So when we're able to do that, at least we would have the confidence that what we are working on, right? You will know from the format, you'll be able to know your strong and weak areas. Okay. Now let's look at what question 2 has. Question 2 also has 5 marks. So question 2A, question 2A, question 2A will be 5 marks. Then question 2B will be 15. But in the ICA manual, the D stands for a chapter. I have the manual here. Let me check what the D stands for. The D stands for, hold on. The D stands for chapters 4 and 5 in their manual. But since we have S&D notes also, it's on petroleum and mining, natural resources, including petroleum and mining. So all these questions here, they're about petroleum and mining. And we have the notes. So there are theories and there are calculations or computations. So the first one says, understand and explain the taxation of mining and minerals, paying attention to 15 marks. So paying attention to, these are theories. Paying attention to, what's the first one? It says what? Explanation of the provisions in the administration of mining. So this is theory. Computation, this is computation of royalty payable, the 5%, corporate tax payable by mining companies, computation of capital allowances, the pool one, taxation of rehabilitation and decommissioning activities, treatment of losses, how are they treated? For 5 years, they are carried for up to 5 years, assignment of interest. And all these which we are talking about here, they are all under this one. So this is, let's say, the first part, number 1 under the D, and this is number 2 under the D, right? And then we come to, this is number 3 under the D. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 areas. And some have subordinate bullet points. Very good. So the second says, understand and explain. Hold on. The second says, understand and explain the taxation of petroleum. So what it means is, from here to the end, they are all on mining, computation, and theories. So if I pick the mining slide from S&D, when I'm studying, what am I looking out for? I'm looking out for this one. That's what I'm looking out for. If there are calculations, they say there will be computation. So I'm going to learn the computation format, right? Then the second part, which is this area, it says understand and explain the taxation of petroleum. So it's petroleum, right? And from that end, we come down here. They are all on petroleum. So this part is, the first part is mining. The second part is petroleum. And they all have 15 marks. So when I pick the S&D slides and it's under petroleum, when I'm studying, I'm not just reading the grammar. No. I'm reading in accordance with the areas they've written here. Just I should understand and explain the taxation of petroleum activities, paying attention to what? One, discussion of various revenues available to government from petroleum exploration and production. What are some of the various revenue? We did the retailing one. We did which one? And some others where revenues come from. So the various revenues. When I'm reading my S&D notes, that's what I'm searching for. What are the various revenues? And I'll write them somewhere because that's where they can ask the question on that. Upstream petroleum operations. So I have to know more about the upstream petroleum operations. And these are the computations here. All these are under upstream petroleum. So upstream petroleum operations, the taxation, the computation, taxation on gains, distribution of the oil to stakeholders, right? Then we have the government stake, the government share with the oil, different contractual obligations, the types of the contractual obligations. So when I pick the S&D slides, I'm just searching for contractual obligation and I'll read it. Then if I see there's an example which is not related to what is here, I jump. Computation of capital allowances, petroleum, taxation of subcontractors. Then I have petroleum revenue management law. If they are in the notes, fine. If they are not in the notes, maybe I'll go to charts, whatever, and get the information and I'll work with it. That's how we have to. Then if you after you read everything, you'll be able to tell yourself what out of these 15, how many you can score, no matter how the question is set. And if you want to do further addition, we can go for past questions and review the past questions only on petroleum and or anyway you have to get the information. So the question 2B, which will be in the exam, it could be a mixture of or an admixture of mining and petroleum, mining theories, petroleum computation, or mining theory and computation, petroleum theory and computation, whichever should give us the 15 marks. So when we have the notes and we are studying, we study in accordance with the areas written in the format. Because no matter what, when we're done, I'll download the diet, last year's diet, their question, and we'll go to question 2B. You see mining and petroleum there. And the questions there, the questions which feature in the exam, they are from these areas. They are never outside these areas. So for this 1 month, all that we could do is we pick the format. We can print them at work. For me, I always print the format. I'm writing to people, so I have the two printed. I always print that format. And when it's 1 month to exams, that becomes my record. That becomes my guide. And then the manual and then the notes. That becomes my guide. So we can also implement and it will work because the areas, these are like the areas from which the questions are going to feature. So by spending time to read our notes or practice our from our notes, right, partnering them with the areas in the format, we can be able to estimate what our performance will be. Please, any concerns, any contribution, anything to say? Okay, let me see whether I can have. Please, if anyone has last year's diet question, can you forward it to the WhatsApp group? I want to upload it. Then we will match it against what is here. Whether the same thing were featured, or the same things here, or the areas were featured. So if you currently have it, you can forward it to the ATAX group. This is question 3. Question 3, it says the A is 5 marks. Now look at the B, E. This C here is in accordance with how it's structured in the ICA manual. So if any one of us has the manual, I can give you chapter 1, maybe C. So when you go to C, chapter 1, like let's say here, the C here, which they've written is chapter 3. In their manual, the C is chapter 3. So whoever has the manual, if you visit chapter 3, it talks about all the C here, and they are going to take 5 marks from there. Chapter 3, the C, which in the exam question to be 3A. That question will be 3A. So they can bring the E first and the C, but it will be 3A, and that will be 5 marks. That's where they will pick the questions from. They are from chapter 3 in the ICA manual. I get, and that's 5 marks, and that's on fiscal policy. So alternatively, if you have the S&D notes, we'll just go and read on fiscal policy. So when you read on fiscal policy, they can ask the questions from anywhere. There it says, understand and apply fiscal policy measures in relation to taxation as a tool for economic management. So this is when I pick what's the name? The fiscal policy notes. I'm reading it with respect to what is written here because they will say the question around this area, whether a case study, whether it could be any way, whether a case study, then I'll use the fiscal policy to explain, or whether I'm going to state and define or state the tools of fiscal policy, whatever, however it is going to be. If we read it and we know or we understand the scope or the content of that very portion, no matter how the question is said, we can be able to write something. So by that, you can estimate. If you read it and you assess yourself, you can say, oh, out of the 5 marks, I'll go for, actually, I can get 3 from this question 3A. Because it needs to be question 3A. So out of the 5, from what I wrote, maybe I can get 3 marks from there. Okay, so that is for that part. Now let's go to question 3 here, E. E, it's written E here. But in the ICA manual, the E is chapter, let me see, it's chapter 6. So for me, I'm going to read chapter 6. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 has all these guys there. And there are many. Because these are many and it's 15 marks, when I look at them and I feel it's a lot, I may give myself, let me get 8 here because I may not spend all my time reading all these plenty things. Though I'll read and look at the areas where I might be quite okay. I might, because it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's 15 marks. So I might give myself about 8. And definitely any question they will set will come from for the question 3E, we emerge from these areas. The question we emerge from these areas. It says provide question chapter 3 in the ICA manual. Let me look at the title. Is tax planning and ethics. Tax planning and ethics. That is question 3B. That's what it's going to be. Tax planning and ethics. So as we have our slides or our S&D notes, we can read the notes in accordance with the areas given. So that is the other part of it. Hold on for me. I think my can I hold on? I'm exiting. I'll come back. My network was interrupted, so I'm back. Okay, so let's see. This is which year is this? November 2025. Last date. From what we have discussed over question 1 and 2, let's check. So you see, there are only question 1A and B. The question 1A, discuss 3 excluded expenditures and 3 domestic expenditures in the determination of chargeable income. In the format, it was 5 marks, but here they made it 6 marks, meaning they are going to make the B or others 14 marks, 20. But in the format, they made it 5 marks, and rather here in the exam, they increased to 6 marks. So there's no way the area they've given, they will set a question outside that area. It will be coming from that area, right? It will be coming directly from that area. That's the question 1. So if you're able to read that question 1A, what they wrote there, if you're able to read the notes there and understand and look at how S&D solved the question and answered, and then I'm certain. Here is 5 marks there. Here they made it 6 marks. So at least I'll go for 4. Discuss 3 excluded expenditures, which are and 3 domestic expenditures, which are very cool, right? So discuss, I'll state, explain, if I want to give an example for 6 marks. All right. So let's look at the B. Look at this. Here, 9 marks. Then here, 6 marks, making 15. So it means that making 6 marks, making 15. So probably they have a C, which will take the 5, which will be 20. All right. So let's look at which areas they set the questions for. So if I'm to solve the question, because of time, when we have the 15 minutes to exams, and we are presented with a question, please, for those of us who may be writing IC for the first time, don't read this. Don't read this case study. Don't read all these people. Don't read them. All these people, don't read them. All these people, don't read them. Where you have to read, because of time, is here. Because if you can solve the question, it is the requirement which we can determine the question. It's the requirement you should tell whether you can solve or you cannot solve. Then here to here, down here. So for example, it says compute the income tax payable by the trustees. So it's a trust. And trust was part of the format, what we did. There was a trust, right? So compute the income tax payable for trustees on the trust income. So if I should read this first, the first thing I'll do behind my question paper is to draw format. If I have memorized format, I have to memorize the format of trustees. Let's say who begins this. I just have to memorize the format. And the next one is what? Write down the format on the question paper. So before I proceed to the case study itself, I have my format in memory before writing any figures down. Then the next one is determine the amount due to each beneficiary. So if I know it's a trust company, and I'll know whether it's a trust or not by first reading the requirements, and that will tell me the approach, my expectations in the question. Are you good? My expectations. So immediately the question is provided to us to start work. 15 minutes to go through. Okay. So immediately the questions provided to us, and we have 15 minutes to go through. All that we need to do is to read all the requirements. Because if you can solve the questions based on the requirement, and based on the requirement, you can select those questions you start with first. Maybe question 1. Even if question 1, I cannot start with the A first. I can start with question 1B because I'm very certain about this. This is 9 marks. I can even get 8 here. Or you can even get 7. Right? You can start with question 1B. Then you can leave the A, leave space for the A. The A is theories. You can leave some lines for the A. And we proceed. You just move on and solve the other questions. So when you have some time and you said you want to come and deal with the A, you come and write into the spaces you left and fill them. So even if it is question 1, like this question 1, we have A, B, and C. And it is C I can begin with first. I'll come and start with question 1C. Then when I finish, I'll go down to question 1B. Then the last, question 1A. Or question 1C, come down to question 1A. Then the last will be question 1B. Are you good? So that is basically it. Let's see the next one. So see, they have a C here. So instead of the 20 marks, making it A, B, C, instead of A, B, as they said, 5 and 15, they've made it rather A, B, C. So 5 here, 9 here, 6 here, 9 here, and 5 here. So I think this is the question 1. And the A and B are from the question B, from the format, the B. Yeah, so this is actually the question 1. And the 9 and 6 are from the question 1B in the format. Differentiate, adjusted assessment, and preemptive. This one is very okay. 5 marks is very, very okay. It's very, very okay. So even this, I could say from here, I can get 4 marks. That's it. So if I should read it, I've not even read what is here. I'm not even interested in that case study because eventually this is what they want me to say. So this is my concentration. If I'm able to read this and write down how to approach it, then I'll just quickly scan through the C, whatever they are saying there. Eventually, what they want is the differences. And I'm not to link these differences to the case study. No. If the requirement is that I should link it to the case study, they would refer me to what is in the case study. But there's nothing of reference to the case study. Therefore, I only go straight ahead and define it, differentiate them, however I have to do it with examples, and get either 4 or 5 of my marks. So we shouldn't bother when in exams they drop the question, we are reading all the case study. No. The requirements. If you can solve the question, is based on the requirements. Then the next one. So that's for question 2. And we've noticed that it follows after the format exactly. Question 2. All these things, I don't have time, I'll not read them. In the 15 minutes time to scan through our work, I'll not read them. I'll come and read this portion here. This is what I'm going to read. Right? This is what you're going to, because you're working with time. You have to know which one you can solve best. So I'll come and read this. This is 10 marks. Now it says compute tax payable. Comment on the deductibility of financial costs in petroleum operations. This is very cool. 2 marks. Somebody could score the 2. It's very cool. Right? So the 10 marks, then which form are they talking about? It's a limited liability company. This is very easy. So even if out of the 10, someone can score 8. So immediately I read and you know that this is coming from the question 2, right? The question 2, the tax stuff, the tax payable, that's it. Then the 2A, this is 2B. What is under 2B? Requirement. Compute the capital allowance. We saw it there. Granted. So assuming I'm to solve this, immediately I see capital allowance, I'll start writing my pool 4, pool 3, pool 2, pool 4. I'll go with the acronym. The last time we solved the question, we went with an acronym. I'll write the acronym down. Then I start 4, 3, 2, 1. Do all the rough work on my question paper. Then when I proceed to the case study, which is to read the scenario here, all that I'm searching for will be values to write into my pool. So if it's exploration cost, develop, this is petroleum. This is petroleum. Yeah, so petroleum. Question 2 was mining and operations, right? Mining and petroleum, yeah. From the format. So let's look at it here. The following relates to the operation of Larry Limited, a company operating in the upstream petroleum sector. So this is petroleum, full question. Then here to petroleum, another question. So if you're able to master the question 2, read the theories and everything, we know that the questions will come from petroleum around those same areas they're giving us. We saw capital allowance there, the same thing. They will never ask anything different from the areas in the format. So that is it. The next one is, let me see the next one. Now, I'll not read all these things. They are not necessary for me. What I need is this. 5 marks from here. These 5 marks is the question 1A at the top, the fiscal policy. And the two A and B there are for the petroleum. Here they didn't ask any question on petroleum. Probably this diet they might ask question on mining, because last diet there was nothing on petroleum. But it doesn't mean that we should not read on that. Now it says state 2 direct tax returns and their respective due dates. State 3 indirect tax returns and their respective due dates. So 235, right? 235. So even after reading this requirement, I may not even need to read whatever is there in the case study. I'll just straight away go and solve the question because I'm working with time. So that's for the question 2. The question 3. Did we talk about the question 3? Yeah, we talked about question 3 about the government taxation as a tool for public debt or something. How can the government of Ghana use public debt to stabilize the economy? 5 marks. So here I have to, because the question is asking how can the government do this, I have to go and read the case study. Sometimes the clue is that sometimes these case studies, the answers are in the case study. So you can do copy and paste, use different words, synonyms to change the words and write it back for them. So sometimes such questions like this, how can the government of Ghana use public debt to stabilize the economy? You find some of the answers in the case study. You only have to copy and change the words and write it back for them. That's all. If you read right now, we'll find out that there are certain things or some words or sentences there which give us lead to solve this question and write it, right? So the best is please read the requirements first if you want to really move quickly. For all the 5, then out of all the 5, you read the requirements. You now be able to select those you can answer best first. Then those you can answer. If it is question 3, I can answer the B first. I'll start with question 3B. I'll answer if question A, I'm not sure. Based on the marks and the content of what I'm going to write, I can leave a whole page for it. Then move on to the next one. After going far and realizing that I'm stuck somewhere, I'll come back to question 3A, which is below here, and I'll see what to write. If there are some spaces down or there's a space at the back, I'll cross it. I'll cross the space at the back if I couldn't write there, and then we move on. So that is how it is. Okay, so please any concerns, any contributions? Let me bring back the format. So I'll be switching in between the format and the what's the name? I'll be switching in between the format and the question paper so that you would see how it works. Yeah, any concerns? Okay, so please, we will need a format. We need a format. See that? Question 3. Let me go back to what? Let me go back here. So you see question 2. They asked the question on petroleum here, from here. Last year, all the questions were from petroleum here. So assuming the student was just reading the slides and reading the notes, no, you'll be missing. So only this part is for petroleum. And all the questions last night was from petroleum. The question 2B. They divided into two, 9 marks and 6 marks, all from petroleum. Isn't that 6? Yeah, all from petroleum. Then probably this diet, they might repeat either the same petroleum or mining with theories, right? So if you're able to read everything and solve the questions in accordance with how Sir Steve taught it, we are good to go. We are not to score 100 over 100, or it's only 50 marks, right? So we can do something about it. Question 3. Let's check question 3.
Please, can we
How?
check question 1
Yeah.
briefly? I think I
All
missed
right.
that.
No problem. No problem. So this is question 1. They asked a question about what? Preemptive, whatever, and
Okay.
affectment, and it's just the same at the top.
Okay.
Yeah. And then here, the 50 marks, they made 9 marks and 6 marks, 2. So the question 1, so it was question 1A, 6 marks, and then the B, 9 marks, and the C, 5 marks. So the C was for the first one. They interchanged it. And the 15 marks, they stretched or broke them into 2 halves, 1 6, 1 9, making up the 20 marks. Right? That's how they solved it. And the questions they asked, it was on trust. Trust. Where is it? Taxation of trust company. That was the one with the, I think, 9 marks or so. This was on trust. And the other one had another, oh, yeah. So it always follows every time, this, and they renew these formats every 5 years. Every 5 years. So November 2024 was the first time they brought in the new syllabus. After 5 years, after 2029, they'll review it and bring in a new one for another 5 years. So for the next 5 years, or for now we are in 2026, 3 years more, this is the format they are going to use. They are not going to change it until after 2029. So, or even next diet, if I'm writing my other 2 papers, I have the format, all the formats I have them. I'll print them 1 month to the exams, then I start working with the format, because that's where the questions are set from, right? So if there is any computation there, you have to refer to the slides, what we saw with Sir Steve, then try to solve it, right? You try to solve it and look at the way he solved it, the approach. But first, read the requirement. It's very, very necessary. So let's look at question 4. It's on VAT. Understand another fiscal policy is here. So I mean the fiscal policy, they spread it around or across some of they've shared it 5 marks across the questions. Question 3, there was a fiscal policy there. Let me show it to you. Question 3. Fiscal policy is here. Question 3. Fiscal policy. Yeah, that's what they talked about. What was it? Yeah, how government can use public debt to serve it as a revenue or as expenditure or something. Public debt, it's fiscal policy, right? Then we come to question 4. The first part, either they will bring it as A or they can take it last. It's 5 marks. It's also fiscal policy. So when I pick the fiscal policy, I'm reading everything. Well, I know that about 15 marks of fiscal policy is going to surface. I know that about 15 marks of fiscal policy is going to surface. So I really get prepared for that. Right? I really get prepared for that. And as we read, some they could say state and explain, discuss, right? Another time they can give a small case study, then they give the question beneath. So whichever way, if you know the fiscal policy, you should be able to write something. All right. F. So this F, If I should refer to the ICA manual, it is a particular chapter. So for me who has the manual, I'm going to read on them in addition to the S&D notes, because the manual just talk about theory. It doesn't bring any case study, any past question and answer. But the S&D notes has some past questions and answers to them. So VAT, if I'm to read on VAT, 15 marks. The first one is explain the concept of value added tax with reference to the following. So they will not ask questions on this. The questions are the bullet points. Those areas, they are going to ask questions on them. So what are they? We have taxable person and taxable activity. It's in the S&D notes. It's also in their manual. It's theory. VAT registration, the process, theory. Supply of goods and services, theory. Taxable supplies, it could be, this is theories. Taxable value, this is theory. Calculation of tax payable and refunds. Input VAT, when it's more than the output VAT, there's a refund. When the output VAT is more than the input VAT, it's tax payable. Explain the concept of, and these two can be calculation. We shouldn't forget. So I know that all these guys say they are theories. I'll go and read on them, chew them. Anyhow, I'll be able to write on who a taxable person is. I'll just learn how to write it in my book. Because definitely, if they should ask questions from here, it can be any of these. That's all. It will never go far from here. I'll bring last day's question, we'll look at it. Check question 4. Then we have explain the concept of customs duty. So this is customs and tax with reference to the following: assessment of duties, types and methods of valuation under the customs administration. That's it. So here, though it's very minimal, but the whole work is here. Compute the tax, the VAT. Then they will be given different ways of the questions. They can bring this, bring that, bring that. That is so the calculation of the tax payable. When I get to this area, all the questions Steve has solved with us on tax payable, on how to compute tax. I have to learn it. I have to go and do the revision, because the tax payable here, there are so many forms of tax liability. So I have to go and solve all of them. So in other words, here it's talking about the inputs and output VAT. And those ones, they involve a lot of calculation. You have to go and learn how to solve all of them. That's where the calculations are. All these guys here, they are theories. This guy is theory. Assessment and methods of valuation, assessment of duties. So this one is calculation, or can be theories, and this is also theories. So the calculations are here and probably here. That's all. All the others are theories. So when I pick the VAT notes of S&D, Unit 10A, Unit 10B, I'm reading on. When I pick this, I'm just going to say who is a taxable person, and I'm going to read on it. What is a taxable activity? I'm going to read on it and write it. I have to memorize it or find a way of writing it so that I wouldn't forget it. What is the process of VAT registration? When I pick the S&D notes, I have to go and study it. What is the process and chew them? If I can create an acronym, create the acronym. But I don't know whether it's my fault or it's my feature. Supply of goods and services, what are they? The supply of goods doesn't mean goods incidental to the supply of services, whatever. How to learn all of them. Taxable supplies, what does it mean? Taxable, what does it mean? Everything on VAT. So by the time I enter the exam, so I'm aiming here. I'm going for 12 marks, because I've studied all the areas they give. I've read on all of them. The calculation, I've tried my hands on all of them. I may forget some, but at least even format alone, write format and put in values. That's what I'm aiming for. Whether I get the actual figure, that's not my business, right? So yeah, the approach is also something I will speak on before we close. All right, so let's go and bring question 4, and let's see whether it was there. Now we have fiscal policy and VAT. Let's see whether it was there. So please, if you go by this, by 1 month, you should be able to finish it. Even 1 month is more. You're able to finish it within some few. Okay, so this question 4 in the exam. I've told you, me, in exams, I hardly read what is. There are plenty things they write up there. Because if you can solve the question, it's not about the case study, it's about what they want you to do. So this way this question is very relevant to me. Calculate the total specific duty payable by Amaya Limited on this consignment. So this is customs. They said assessment of duties is calculation. They brought it here. And it is part of the 15 marks under the VAT. Enumerate 3 conditions for granting duty drawbacks is under the customs. This is a theory and a calculation. So calculation 5 marks, theory is under the customs, the VAT, the 15 marks. So now out of the 15, 10 is gone, 8 is gone. So we have 7 more. Let's see where they'll put a 7. So the B, so this is A. That is B. B, I'll not read all this. I mean, I don't need this one now. I'll go to the requirement here. With reference to the Value Added Tax Act, explain the correct VAT treatment for each of the transaction I to IV above in the company's first VAT return. Just file your answer for each item. So 4 marks. So 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark, 4. This one, it will take me time to go through because I'm working within the 15 marks. I'll not go and read everything here. I don't have the time for this one, but I've noted the question down. But I'll not read the case study because when I start to solve the question, that is when I'll read the case study. Okay, so that's 4 marks. 4 marks, I can take a lottery there and say maybe I can get 2. Out of this 4, I can get 2. If I'm able to get 4, fine. But my aim might be to get 2. But I'll solve everything. I'll try write something on it. Let's see the next one. Still under the question 4. These things, they are not relevant to me now. But this way, I need. With reference to the VAT Act, explain the VAT implications of this transaction for both Amaku and Accra Art Gallery. 15 marks. I'm not going to read this, but I'm not answering the question now. Now go to the D. Explain 2 positive and 1 negative social significance of borrowing. And with this concern, for example, you can even identify some of the answers in the case study if it's there. Here too, so I can even identify some of the questions, the answers in the case study. So the VAT issue, they never asked any calculation question on VAT. They were all theories on VAT, addressing, real life problems or actual problems people are facing or VAT registered people are encountering, right? So they were all theories. Probably this diet, they might bring calculation. Okay, so please, the format is our poll. Let me put it that way, which we need to work with. All right, let me bring the last question 5. Then we would end. If there are no issues, then we will end. Moment. Okay, so we've done question 1, question 2, question 3. So please, this 1 month is all about format and the ability to, derive your acronyms, how you approach the questions. That's all. Question 5, G. So the ICA manual, there's a G. This G is referring to a particular chapter. So if I should read that chapter, all the G is covered there. But then if there are computations, then I can go and solve all the past questions says Steve saw with us, right? Or you can still pick the same slides or notes and run through them. So what is the G talking about? 10 marks. Okay, what is that? They said explain current and emerging trends in taxation, paying attention to. So where this the words following the pay attention to that those areas are the source of the questions. E-commerce in taxation, current issues, the after, right? Digitization in tax administration, discuss the overview of technological impact on tax practice and administration, taxation implication of mergers here, reorganizations. So this one, there can be a computation. I remember says Steve solved a computation question under mergers and acquisition. He was drawing when this like this and this jump to this, the tax implication. So there can be a question, there can be a calculation there. Development on any of the issues narrated in the syllabus under this very G. Okay, 10 marks. Then H, discuss and advise on matters relating to international taxation. All these are theory. No, there are calculations here. Double taxation, there's calculation. Permanent establishment, evaluate the meaning and implication of permanent establishment. These are theories, right? Then, so the bullet points, those are the areas for the question. Trading in Ghana and trading with Ghana. Trading in Ghana, trading with Ghana. Then the double taxation, there's computation here. 10 marks. If we go and bring in the what's the name? Last diet question paper, we are going to see all these areas reflecting there. Okay, is here. Let's see. Let's see what question 5 had for last diet. So as I said, I don't need be making reference to the case study when I'm answering the question, this very question. Unlike the other questions where it says, differentiate between some, I've forgotten what we just read. We read something like that. Let me see what I'll find it. This very question is different from this type of questions. Let me see what the question is. Look at this one. That's the type of question I was trying to talk about. You see, here it says differentiate between adjusted assessment and preemptive assessment. This question here, it has nothing to do with the case study. It has nothing to do with the case study. So I can answer these questions directly without making any reference to the case study. However, with the one which we shared earlier, or from the question 5, I can never answer that question without making reference to the case study. Otherwise, I'll not get the full marks. This question. I can never answer this question here for the 5 marks without making reference to the case study. Because it says, discuss the specific task issue at hand, and the issue is in the case study. And describe the actions of the CG. Right? It's empowered to take. So I have to, when I'm answering, I have to be making reference to the case study. And then I later on recommend actions the CG must take to address the concern. All right. So those are differences. Let's look at the B. I think all these guys are not necessary. This what is needed. So as a company tax consultant, determine whether the thin capitalization rule, right, and at the double tax, the rules have been breached. Okay, so it means that here, for me to be able to resolve this or solve the question confidently, I need information from the case study. What will be the tax implication if the company is a financial institution? 1 mark. Okay, then the last one, the C. I don't need all these. For now. When I'm actually solving the question, I need them. But now that I'm trying to figure out which ones I would first deal with because of the time, I don't need that information. So please, the format is the guide, is that Paul? Okay, the last one. Let's see what we have. All these, I don't need them. Yes, this is my point. What are the possible tax implications of each of the observations? So I will need to go and read them. But this one, it will take time. So me, if I'm solving, I'll not solve this one at the beginning or in the middle. I'll solve it somewhere later on because it takes time. What are the tax obligations of the new company? Meaning I can never answer this question without picking information from the case study. So I'll pause a bit on this. However, what we just learned was that the format, the areas they set the questions, they are the same areas which, the areas they gave in the format are those areas based upon which they set the questions. And you could see this one, discuss the specific tax issue at hand and describe the action of the Commissioner General. This is under the fiscal policy, the 5 marks. All right. And then the B and the others are the other ones which will come up. All right. So we are done. Any concerns? This one wants us to discuss. Any
do you
concern?
Have a soft copy of the manual?
Oh, no, I don't. I don't have a soft copy. I don't have a soft copy.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hard copy. You see. So you see here, all these 10 marks, they brought it there. And 10 capitalization and all the others, yeah, they also brought them. International, matters related to international taxation, the 10 capitalization and the others, they are here. So if you can print them tomorrow when you're at work, or you print them and then that should be the guide telling you which area you should read, where you should concentrate on, and by the time you follow the areas, you finish reading everything in the notes because it's covering everything, and you don't know how the questions are going to be set, and you are not so sure of where you're going to do so well or what you may not do so well, right? So the best thing is we learn everything and then we give estimates. Let's say question 5A if the question fall around any of these areas or around these areas, I'm likely to score 8. It all depends because these are theory. Then the B, I can go for 7. So by the time you finish your estimates, if it's over 100, you could see that okay, I'm from my estimation and from how far I've studied and practiced, I can score 70. But then that is your estimation pre-exams, pre-writing the exams. After writing the exams, you can give your estimate that 40, I can get 40 marks wrong. I'm estimating 40 marks to be wrong. My grade should be between 50 and 60 based on what you wrote. Because formally you were estimating 70. Now after the paper, you would be like, okay, based on what I've written, 40 marks should go as wrong marks. But 50 to 60, that's where my grade should fall. Right. So please, this 1 month, this is how you have to approach it, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And also, if you know you're not, I mean, a fast writer or a quick writer, you have to learn how to write very, very speedily because of the time. Okay, because of the time. Okay. So, is there any other issues you want us to discuss? If not, then this will be the end of the meeting.
Please, do you have the format for other courses, level 3 courses?
Yeah, I have. I'll share all of them in the group. I have all of
Okay,
them.
thank you.
Is there any other thing else? Okay. So, if there's nothing else to discuss, we'll end the session here. All right. So I wish you all the best. Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Please,
we can
Yeah.
hear
when is
you.
our next meeting?
Come again?
When is our next meeting, please?
Meeting. Ish.
Yes.
What do you want us to meet and talk about? Let me know.
Like discussing past questions and all that.
Wow. It's just the time, man.
Oh, okay. So we should
But
just
but
go according to the
the,
format.
the issue is the issue is if let's say if you have what I'm trying to say is this. You are not to balance the work. You are not to get the accurate final answer, right? The approach. If you're able to approach the question and write, I mean, write out the terms. If it's a format, you're able to write out the terms in the format. You are good to go, even if the final answer is wrong, because the mark text, the currency sign is marked. Computation of whatever, let's see the name of the entity, SND, computation of tax payable for the 2025 YA, that's year of assessment, basis period. All these one they take text. So even if I'm unable to make the final answer right, those entries I had correct. I have text for them. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that the way Sir Steve solved the questions, right? Let us pick because all the questions he's solving, they're all past questions. All that he solved, the intervention, all that he's going to solve, that they're all past questions. So if the same question he solved with us, we pick that question. Before we start to answer it, we should read the requirement of the question. Then the way how he approached it, we should learn it the same way. Are you getting it? We should learn the same way. That will be the first trial. The second trial, the second attempt, we should pick the same question, solve it on our own. Maybe in the process of solving it, if we lack somewhere or we got stuck somewhere, we can refer to a solution, then get back on track and finish it. Then probably the third attempt, this one we are solving it on our own without any reference. And there's the time to you have to speed up your writing, right? So that's how I study mine. So let's say for one question, I'll practice it for 3 times. So if it is, let's say, illustration one, I'll first solve it, follow the way he did it. The second one, solve it on my own. When I'm stuck somewhere, I refer to a solution and I come back to track. But the third one, I don't refer to his work. And I'll write very, very speedily because of the time. Then when I'm done with the third attempt, I'll compare my solution to his solution and mark myself because it's past what all that he's solving is that they're all past questions. So even if you don't want to refer to the main bank of past questions, he has some part that he has solved with us. And if you're able to solve all those questions following the approach I'm giving and the way he approached the questions, we are okay. Because in exams, if similar questions should fall in the exams, you go by the same approach to do it. Madam, are we okay?
Yes, please.
So we have to master. If, in other words, we should be able to solve almost all the questions he has taught us on our own, right? We should be able to solve almost all the questions he has taught us on our own because they are all past questions. They are all past. If you want to do additional past questions, fine. But everything he has solved, they are all past questions. I get on it. So, and just the approach. How did he approach the question? That's what is very necessary. That's what is very, very, very important. How he approached the question. So you read the requirement. Okay, it's capital allowance. So I'm expecting this. How did he approach the question? It's the same way by learning to adopt that and learn how to write it very, very speedily in exam. That's how you go about it. Are you okay? So that's for the computer. And the theories for that one, you can read it and write in your own words. If it's an act like the VAT and the income tax, you have to make reference to the act, right, or the regulation. According to the Income Tax Act, this, they will write whatever we have to write. But for the computation, we have to go by the format, how he approached it. If in the process of learning you can also devise your own choice and add it to complement his, then that one become your tool to use. Okay, so but however, if any of us wants to, like I posted in the group, wants to host a discussion, that will be fine. Maybe I may not have the time to join, but I believe others will be able to join, and it will be a very fruitful discussion.
Okay.
Madam, please, are we okay?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Please, any other? Okay. So if there is none, then we will end here. And thanks for your time.
Thanks, too. All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.